Hello. Yura, Yura. Welcome back, everybody. Everyone's coming in? All right. Might drop the music, otherwise I'll start dancing. Hey, look out. Yura, everyone. Yura, hello. My name's Cameron Costello. I'm a quantum man from Moreton Bay with ties also the Gidable people down in northern New South Wales. I'm a director of the Queensland Tourism Industry Council and also the chair for the Queensland First Nations Tourism Council as well as some other boards. Wonderful to be back. It's showtime now. Showtime. So the next session, I've got the privilege to introduce the next session, which is our special guest, Choolburra, who's one of my favourites. Charismatic, cheeky, vibrant, Gugu Yalanji, Kalkadoon, Kunju, Bunkamum man from up near Townsville and Palm Island. Sean's carved a niche as one of Australia's great entertainers and number one Indigenous entertainer. He's appeared on TV shows, the NRL Footy Show, Thank God You're Here, Melbourne International Comedy Festival Gala, and has hosted and recently performed at Deadly Funny in Melbourne, Adelaide and Perth. He's had an established career as a dancer. He established the Ngaru Dance Company and performed all over the world with our famous Bangarra dance troupe, including by invitation to the Dalai Lama and Prince Charles. For me personally, instead of Tom Cruise coming down, I can imagine this fella coming out for us, representing us, coming in to showcase what the best Australia has. So I'd like you to provide a warm welcome for our main deadly man, Shawnee Choolburra.
Come on. Yeah. Come on, you guys. Clap your hands. Woo. My goodness, yeah? How good is this, yeah? I was going to do that and then go this side and all that and get the music pumping, but then Pat, my good friend, turned the music down, yeah? That's okay, Pat. You're doing a wonderful job. Everyone give a big round of applause to Pat, my sound man, and the whole crew, the whole staff up there. How good is that? Man, it is so good to be here. I didn't know the stage was going to be this big. It kind of gives me like, like Tony Robbins kind of vibe, that kind of thing, You can feel yourself, all that kind of thing, yeah? So basically, I know you guys are looking at me thinking, where'd you get that suit from? My missus, we might as well just address it right now. My missus, she has an account called Sheen. Sheen, I don't know if you're aware of this, yeah? And she went to sleep, not at the wheel, but, ordering, So I just made a little adjustment and added to the cart. Yeah. So she's looking through all these little outfits and that, and bam, all of a sudden, a suit comes out she not too sure to wear. Otherwise, she might look like Kamala Harris or something like that, yeah? And, and she decided to give it to me. And I said, you sure this is not a woman's suit? She goes, who cares, People have pronouns today, she, her, all that kind of stuff. I go, my day, it was just sure. She's like, what? So it's an honor to be here. I'd like to pay respects, acknowledge country. And only last week I was here and I did a gig. Believe it or not, I'm making this up. I did a gig here last week and that's why all the staff know me. Like when they come in here, they all know me already. And because I took the wrong lift. I took their lift, okay? There's a lift for us and then there's their lift, okay? And I went that lift, okay? I was down there, I was scrubbing pots and dishes and everything in a suit, but I looked like the staff, And they go, hey, your shift is finished. I go, man, I'm out of here. But what happened at that event was I was doing a maneuver, which is quite it's a hard maneuver to do, and I had a swollen leg, but luckily my insurance company was in the house, and they're called Duck for Cover, and with Allianz or something like that, yeah? So it's great to be here. So my name is Sean Choolburra, and I come from Townsville, and I was born and bred there. And then I went to school there, and I went to Iggy Park and all the Christian school. And I've always believed, ever since I was like little, because I do come from a big family. I have 7 brothers and 4 sisters, and my dad's born 1920, my mom's born 1930s and stuff like that. And they come from that island off the coastline of Townsville. No, not Magnetic Island. The other island. So my family all come from Palm Island, and basically, all my family still live on the island and stuff like that. And I think we all have an island home, and like some of us might do Ancestry.com and all that kind of stuff, and you find out your island. Well, you got an island home too. Anyway, so basically, I come from there, went to school there and that, and I really had a great time at school. I always believed I was borderline genius, and the reason for this is because, and some of you guys are probably self-diagnosing yourself right now thinking, maybe that's what I suffer from, yeah? I've always believed I was, borderline genius and undiagnosed ADHD and all that kind of stuff, but one of my favorite bands is AC/DC, but anyway, it doesn't matter, yeah? So here I am. I went to school, and I remember in grade 2, the teacher, we had a confirmation. And I don't know if you know a confirmation, but when you go to a Catholic school, a confirmation is where you have to pick out a holy name out of the Bible, a saint's name and stuff like that. All the kids were picking out Christian names like John, Paul, Ringo, George, all the rest of it. And I kind of saw it as someone taking you to a car yard, down Maruka or something like that, and saying, hey, you can have any car you want. I was thinking, why mess around second-hand cars when you can have the best car? So for my Christian name, I put down the best Christian name there is. I put down Jesus. That's right. Yeah. Now, wait there. Hey, some of you guys actually looked up thinking he was talking to me, but it was me lowering my voice and with Pat amplifying the bass in there, like Jesus. And I put down Jesus because that's what you do when you're like undiagnosed and all that, and you have a borderline genius. Some people come to my show and they go, what happened to the cat? And I say, I don't know. What were you talking about? Because sometimes I just riff, you know what I mean? And I just do these shows and then I forget some of the material I say on there, and things like that, yeah? And I'm pretty sure that might happen at Spotlight. I go, what happened to all that material, yeah? But basically, here I am. And I cannot believe, like, the size of this room, how beautiful it is. And I know you're going to hear it. You probably heard some stuff yesterday about forming partnerships and things like that. But it's about creating that dignity. I was watching a documentary the other day, and it was about homeless people creating a soccer team, an Australian soccer team. And then obviously you could see that pride, that dignity, and that all of a sudden, they were dull at the start, their skin, their everything. But then they were shining and glowing because it's that dignity when you create and form partnerships with, our mob, and then you realize, you're creating, economic wealth in our communities and so on. And that's what it's all about as well. And I'm not going to talk about that because you already know all this already, okay? Because tourism, and you're probably thinking, Sean, what do you know about tourism? I'll tell you, the first time I ever did anything with tourism was New South Wales tourism, and guess what I had to pick up? Now, you come from Townsville, you're not used to this kind of animal. They gave me a wombat. Yeah, and the wombat was from a TV show called Country Practice. Yeah, they dressed me up. I was dressed up like, the late great. I was in khakis with a cowboy hat and things like that. I don't even wear that kind of clothes. But here I am with this gigantic wombat. I don't know if anyone's ever picked up a wombat, but I imagine it's like picking up a big kid, But basically it was this giant wombat, and they'd run over and wipe its sweat because the wombat was sweating, things like that, thinking, man, is this guy going to eat me? And I was like, man, I've never held anything like this in my life. I wouldn't know where to start or anything like that. So here I was, in grade 3. I'm sorry, I said grade 2, but it was grade 3. I put down Jesus as my Christian name. And as I ran up to the teacher, all the kids handed their names, and I went up and I showed her. Because when I walked out of class, the kids said, Sean, what name did you pick? And I knew they would ask me going to a school with 841 kids there, me being one of the 4 black kids there, I knew they would ask me. They said, Sean, what name did you pick? And I said, Jesus. And they said, nah. I said, yeah, I picked Jesus. If you don't believe me, come on with me now, and my mom will tell you and confirm and verify that my name's Jesus. So all these kids from school, you could imagine. Picture this, all the kids from our Catholic school following me. It was Townsville, it's hot, it's sweating. Everyone's sweating. And when you're with Bangarra Dance Company, people sweat different because most people sweat like that. They do the Dennis Lilly like that. They wipe the sweat like that, Dennis Lilly style. But when you're with a famous dance company called Bangarra, you wipe your sweat like that. And you flick it like that, and people go, man, what's he doing? He just did his whole forehead. But Dennis Lilly, he did it with one hand. From the Vulture Street end, Stanley Street end, whatever. My grandma, believe it or not, lived in Vulture Street end. So when we'd watch the cricket in the 1970s, they'd be bowling from Vulture Street end, we'd go, there's our grandma. She lived in West End. And we go, well, we couldn't see her, but we knew that was her street, yeah? And I forget where I was now. So I rock out with all these kids from school. And my mom is born in 1930, so she doesn't like anyone come around the house like she's nervous, like, you bring home all the Christian kids from school. She want to clean the house or something like that. And here I rocked up with 12 kids from school. I said, Mama, because they didn't believe that I chose a Christian name. They didn't know there was options like that, They were choosing Luke and things like that, and Calvin and Raymond and stuff, And then I chose Jesus, and I rocked up at home, and it was hot, and it was sweating. Everyone was sweating. I said, Mama, these kids want some cordial. She said, Jesus, how am I going to feed them all? I said, see, I told you my name was Jesus, yeah. Now take my bag. Oh, Jesus getting tired, yeah. And I know you guys, last time I was talking accounting, I've always had a problem with numbers, and I do like numerology, but when you're undiagnosed and you, borderline genius, you're really good with numbers, but not that type of number, but you know what I mean, like maths and all that kind of stuff, and things like that. People come up to me and go, like at the, they go, hey, what's your tax file number? Most people might have to look for it and search for it. I go, 173-432-772, bam. And they go, what? Do you know you? I go, yeah, I know every number. People go, what's your VIN number on your car? And then I'll go straight through the whole numbers, yeah. I'm good with numbers and things like that, but I'm not good at maths. And I remember one time I was doing a maths exam. It was grade 3, 1974, the year before Jaws came out. And the first question, I had 5 divided by 3, 7 times 3. I had no idea. All the smarty pants kids were flying through the exam, showing off with their little smartness, made me want to take my shoe and, show them the art of shoe linen. And all these kids, flying through the exam, And I'm looking around the classroom because our teacher used to say, you have to look, and Jesus acting in mysterious ways and things like that, And I remember looking at the first question, 5 divided by 3, 7. I didn't know the answer. And I saw a poster on the wall, and the poster, this poster of you in the Christian school. The poster said, Jesus is the answer. Five divided by 3, Jesus. 7 times 3, Jesus. Yeah, I thought I was really clever. I had like 4 pens sticky taped together. Jesus, 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 Jesus. First time I beat everyone in the exam. Beat you all, yeah. Ran up and I showed the teacher when she seen it. Jesus! I was like, see, kids, I told you my name was Jesus, yeah? I had a really good life growing up in Townsville. I really enjoyed it, Growing up in Townsville, and now I was playing cricket with one of my friends. It was 1979, and I'm playing cricket with a guy named Midgie Ross. And you're thinking, there is a lot of midgies in the Ross River. We know that. And Midgie said to me in 1979, he said, you should do comedy. And I didn't even know what comedy was then. Like, I had no idea. At 1979, he told me to do stand-up comedy. And I went in, and I finally walked into a stand-up comedy show at the ripe old age of 33. Now, you're thinking, hey, wasn't Jesus that age? Anyway, I walked in there. And, because of my borderline genius, I remember when I was 2 years old, and we'll go back to when I was 10 in 1979, guess what happened? My brother, he was 3, I was 2. Anyway, you do the maths. Basically, guess what happened? He couldn't talk properly. He was like a late developer. He talks really well now. But at 3 years old, he wasn't a good talker. I was his translator. Most people trying to learn how to walk at 2 years old. Here I was a translator. That's how progressive I was. We walked into our local fish and chip shop. It's called Almer and Kim, Pilkington Street, and the corner of Pilkington Street and Wilcox Street in Townsville. Right there on the corner. We'd go there. And they go, hey, Lollipop. Now, my brother's nickname became Lollipop. Now, long story short, his real name was Noel. Noel. And everyone called him Nolly. And I couldn't say the N-word because of political correctness reason. It became Lolly. Became Lollipop. They go, hey, Lollipop, what do you want? And my brother go, and that's how we talked. That's how he communicated. And they looked at me and they go, what did he say? And I said, he said he wants fish and chips. And they go, wow, he's like a genius. I go, borderline. And some of you guys are thinking, I don't get this. But we all watched that TV show called Skippy. And the ranger would ask Skippy, Skippy, what color was the car? And Skippy goes, and he goes, it was blue. And you never questioned that. But here now you were looking at me, judging me. I'd be watching that with my brother, go, man, this is like us. He would nod his head like that. And I remember one time my grade 2 teacher turned back to us. She put on a reel, and during the war, Because you know Townsville, it's got military base there. You got Laverick Barracks, things like that. You'll see my name, Choolburra. You'll see the whole name there in the whole Army district, okay? We got the RAF there, the Air Force and stuff like that. I remember one of my first ever early jokes was when tourists went to Thursday Island and they had to draw out some money and they went and asked a local guy. They said, hey, you got Air Force here? They go, well, we got Army, we got Navy, but no Air Force here. But anyway, so here I was. And the teacher in grade 2 said, during the war, they used a special communication code called Morse code. She turned back to the class, and my IQ was too high for anyone. The kids in the class, I was in grade 2. I should have been in grade 12 or something like that, yeah? That's how smart I was. Man, these kids are like, man, why put me in this class, you know? And the teacher said, you know, no one can decode Morse code. And I was like, man, just play it. And she played Morse code on an old reel. It was an old reel from the 70s. Bam, she put it on, just screwed on, and put it on over here and tightened it up. That's how old it is. It's old school. She put on press play. When she pressed play, she played Morse code. And when she played Morse code, it went, and I said, man, they want fish and chip. Bam, I cracked that code, you know? It was brilliance. Brilliant. Hey, too good. So I used to run a dance company. After Bangarra, all that kind of stuff, dancing around. I was dancing around. I was with Bangarra Dance Company with the famous brothers, the Page Boys. I love these guys dearly. But guess what? I formed my own dance company. We used to travel the world. We used to work for G'day Australia. We do the whole thing. These boys and girls that dance in my dance group, they were from everywhere. You know, like the most remotest places in Australia. Places like Saibai Island, Boigu Island. When you stand on these islands, the most beautiful islands of all, you know, and you stand there, and on a really good day, you can see people walking around in the Daru province of Papua New Guinea. And you're like, wow, you know, and they come across and they're trading food and stuff like that. And you're like, oh my goodness, yeah. And, you know, and these guys traveled the world. They saw, you know, G'day Venice, G'day Toronto, G'day Auckland, G'day, you know, obviously LA, you know, but yeah, and they did all that and they traveled the world and I was, you know, working with these guys and traveling the world and working with, you know, and certainly in that tourism field. And, you know, and basically you know, I have a little bit of experience, not as much experience as you guys, but my experience where it does come from is from where I come from. And I can only really talk confidently about where I'm originally from. And particularly on my dad's side. So I was born in Townsville, but my homelands come from a little bit north of there. So you get to a place called Ingham. Now, some of you guys are thinking, how do I know Ingham? You're thinking of chicken. We've got nothing to do with chicken. But you started thinking, see, now you've made connections. But also our Premier of Queensland, the new elected Premier, he's also an Ingham boy. And, you know, a man, whatever, he, him, whatever you want to call it, okay? Them, him, whatever, yeah? So, but guess what? I come from just a little bit north of there, and a place called Cardwell. Cardwell is without a doubt the most beautiful place. You got Jesse's Pies there. You're thinking Jesse's girlfriend, but Jesse Pie has a pie shop there. And out in the ocean, you see a crocodile coming to cruise along there, and things like it's just magic. It's one of the most beautiful. There's an island out the front there, and that island is called Hinchinbrook Island. And it's my place there. It's my homelands on my dad's side. And Hinchinbrook is pretty much kind of like the English word of it, but it's also pretty much not far from the actual language name. But we call it Injinruk in our language, but it's just like Hinchinbrook. But basically, my stories start from there. If you look at Hinchinbrook Island, there's a rock that sits on top. It almost looks like a mobile phone. That rock there is called Gunundali, which is my oldest cousin brother's name. And then comes down into the channel, and into the channel is my big daughter's name, and they called this place there. When the guy fell in that back area of that river, he went like this with his hands, both hands like this, and he created the waters to come in there. And that's why we have these channels there. In our language, we say, and it's basically creating that salt water that come in that area there. And how that water came about was when basically, and how the salt water appeared is they originally wanted to make waves. They looked at the Pacific Ocean and it was too flat. And they said, man, we need to make waves. So this man who's half human, half eel, carried with him a sword and he hit this tree. And the tree that he hit happened to be a jarrah yogo. And jarrah, not the Western Australian jarrah tree, but jarrah in our language means a soap tree. the water's like this. He wanted to make waves. So he split this tree in half, and half of that tree fell in there. And he created all these waves. And as those waves come up, what do they leave on the beach that came from that tree? The foam from that soap. So they say, so basically they sing songs like that about that tide coming in. And that is the stories that we know really, really well. We know this land. We know this country because our parents come from there, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, and many, many, many generations. But we want everyone to feel a part of it. I do school shows all around Australia, and I tell these kids a story of the Seven Sisters story that traveled up from Cardwell up into the Atherton Tablelands to one of the most prettiest places called Juggernaut. And the Seven Sisters turned like this as they all had their digging sticks ready to dig in the ground and dig up wild yam and bush potato. And as they turned like this, they realized that someone in their journey was following them. And they all turned into these rock formation known as Pinnacle Pocket in Juggernaut. But let's fast forward the story. This is where the land brings everyone in, and there's a magic here. This guy goes there later on. He has a coffee shop. And believe it or not, no word of a lie, and I want you to go there and visit this. I've been there, sat there with my missus, and I was like, wow, how funny is that? This guy here happens to have a coffee shop right there, and he makes cheese and chocolate and so on. But he has no idea. There's the seven sister dreaming story. But the weird thing is, guess how many sisters he actually has? 7. And that's the power of this land, that magic that we need to form and create. And I tell everyone, this is where you need to go and have a look at that and experience it because it's our homes, all our homes as well. And I wanted to share with you one last little quick story here because it's about leaving lasting impressions. Tourism is great, but it can be better. And it starts with you guys, okay? And I want to just finish up with one thing. Because no one, we all talk about the Olympics and that, but I think there was something that stood right out at the Olympics. And I think it really stood out and kind of really over, and we're about to do it right now. But before this, I moved back to Townsville, and guess what? And that's why when we say keep the fires burning, I'm glad Pat put that up because sometimes I lose where I'm going. And then I saw keep the fires, and that's what he said. Put that there so you keep me like an auto cue type thing, yeah? Thank you for that, Pat. Brilliant. Now everyone knows what I'm going to talk about, yeah? No, I'm joking, yeah? But keep the fires, and one of the most iconic things of all time is we have this Hollywood superstar named Zac Efron. And he went there, and he wanted to learn about the fires. So he went there to all my family in Cardwell and Murrayuppa and Tully there, and he was making fire with my brother, Clarence Kingeon. When you cross the Tully River, you'll see, Joe Kingeon Bridge. And there's Hollywood. And this is the kind of attraction that you guys have created here. People from all around the world, they come to Australia because why? They want to experience this magic. There's a void that they're missing. They want to come here that we already have. We already know this place. We already know the magic of this place. And basically, that's what I wanted to share with you. Keep the fire burning. One of the greatest things I love when I see is all that sugar cane burning as well. I love it too, yeah? So I thought I'm going to do something a little bit different because in 2020, I moved out of Sydney. I was living in Sydney for many, many years. 32 years. Living in Sydney. And some of you guys, you probably know Sydney. I lived there. When I first moved to Sydney, but you got to understand, my mom is very old school. When I first went to Sydney, she said, Sean, you be careful. There's men who dress up like women there. And I took her dress off and I said, what? And I was like, who cares? You know what I mean? No one cares. And guess what? I lived at Maroubra Beach. I lived at Maroubra Beach for about 10, 11 years or something like that. And at night, because I'm a Townsville boy, you know what I mean? We kind of, we know how to handle it. I grew up boxing, I don't box anymore, but I do ballet. Anyway, so here I was walking around Maroubra Beach. And this guy came up out of nowhere. He just appeared and he said, hey, man, you can't walk around here at night. This is a very dangerous place. This is Maroubra. And I said, why, what's wrong with it? He said, there's a gang here. And I said, a gang? He said, yes, a gang. And I'm from town, but we don't have gangs there. So I said, what are they called? He said, Brow Boys. And I said, my mama warned me about these guys. These type of men. And I pictured these guys, because when people talk, I picture it like a movie. I pictured this gang with, at the end of the day, they're taking their bras off, you know. Oh, jeez, what a day, you know. Fighting with this bra on, things like that. I thought, man, how do I join this gang? You know, because it's easy. You're wearing cargo pants. Cargo have about 12 pockets. You're looking for searching for keys. You don't know where. You go bra on, bam, you just got it like that. You got it right there. This is a true story. Like, I never made that up. You can ask Sonny Aberton that too. Sonny's the oldest brother of the Bra Boys, okay? And they're going to do a movie, and they want me to play one. It explains the highlights in my hair. Okay, I have to look like I've been surfing, you know? You know, okay, I always joke, yeah? I don't really have anything prepared. And I know you guys are looking at me in this Shein outfit that costs $17. And I know you guys are judging me. Right now, you're thinking, I wonder what he's wearing under that suit. But I want to tell you something. In 2021, I moved back to Townsville. You know, like, we've all been there. You know, we all been there. You know, we all been there, you know? My wife kicked me out, all that kind of stuff. I hit rock bottom, all that. I'm sleeping at my brother's house, my brother Joe. You know, in Vietnam, they say Jiao. In Italian, they say Chow. And I have a brother named Joe. Joe, Jiao, Jiao, Joe. And I was sleeping at Joe's house on the lounge. Very uncomfortable lounge. And he said, man, you got to make some money and pay rent. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I set my alarm to go to Giuseppe's mango farm past the dam. In Townsville, you got the dam, the Townsville Dam. Drive past it, the road turns around like that, goes all the way around. You get to the mango farm. All the backpackers come there. You know, they all go there. At 5 o'clock in the morning, you start working for Giuseppe's Mangoes. Here I was. I went there. At 4:15, I arrived. Not in this suit. Here I was. I got there. At 4:30, I checked my email. Because you got to understand, COVID-19 hit. No one was working. All us performers were out of work. People like myself, Celine Dion, all of us. We were all out of work. I go to that mango farm ready to start work. 4:30, everyone standing there. Giuseppe pick everyone, you know. Bam, you be in that group there, you be in that gang there, but you know, mango, pick up mangoes. $300 a day you could pick. And I was thinking, man, I'm ready for this. My new career path is mango picking. I've accepted it. Lord, this is what you got for me. Mangoes. Don't worry, be sappy, because that mango has a lot of sap. Be grateful. Bring it home, and the kids go, Dad, we love mangoes. There's only certain ways you can cut that thing up. Freeze it. Oh, Dad, mango again. Don't be ungrateful. I thought about all the scenarios, and I checked my email at 4:30 in the morning. I don't know why I checked the email. There was like no work, no nothing. And guess what it said? There was a guy named Ludo. And I was like, I wonder if he knows Giuseppe. He goes, Sean, I've been looking for you. He finds me in a mango farm. Do you know how rare that is? He goes, I've been looking for you to play. I'm writing a cartoon about a bunch of dogs. And I want you to play one of the dogs. And all my exes thought, how fitting. They all thought, how fitting. But we don't worry about them cat-loving people. We don't worry about them. But guess who send me friend requests? Them cat-loving people now. They send me friend requests. How long you in Brisbane for? Delete. I don't need that in my life. So as you know, you already know this. The jig is up. That's my Irish in me. I play Maynard, who's an Irish wolfhound. An Irish wolfhound. And I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking, surely you should be playing. No, I shouldn't. because we're going to break that typecast. And I get to play an Irish wolfhound. And my good friend, who I'm touring tomorrow with in Bundaberg and Maryborough, his name is, I don't even know if you guys know this guy. He's from Ireland. His name is Jamoan. Jamoan says, Sean, why aren't I playing that dog? I'm Irish. I said, maybe they're saving that dingo for you, yeah? That would be really funny, an Irish dingo. Could you imagine that accent? Because it would be so funny, yeah? People would be like, what? Yeah. And some of you guys, you probably look at me and think I'm very down to earth. I'm very relaxed. I don't care. I don't get starstruck or anything. I see James Tobin. I go, hey, what are you to the Tobin's fish and chip people in Townsville? Because they were voted #1 fish and chip. He's thinking, don't you know who I am? Like I'm the weatherman on the weekend. I go, yes, I know that. But I got excited because your last name Tobin, and then voted #1 fish and chip in Australia was Tobin Fish and Chip on Boundary Street. What are you to them? He goes, I don't know. I go, maybe that's your family. I like to find people their family. There'll be 3 JTs in Townsville then. There'll be Jonathan Thurston, Jason Tomalomo, and Jason Tobin, fish and chip. Jason. How many more JTs? You know, I just make it up as I go along. Some of you guys, I do get starstruck sometimes. I don't really. Because in this industry, you kind of meet everyone. You know, I was opening up Planet Hollywood one time with Bruce Willis. You guys are like, nah, you Google it. But one time, I will tell you a story because every time I come here to Brisbane, I'll go to the Maya Center. There's acupuncturists. I'll get my legs always done, acupuncture, okay? Because they're keeping me fit, okay? First time in 1994, I'm in the Maya Center, 3rd floor. You go up the escalators, 3rd floor. It's a lay-by section. For millennials, Afterpay was originally called lay-by. It was called lay-by. 3rd floor of the Maya Center in Myers is lay-by. You get your lay-by out. I had my lay-by in there because I was working with Bangara. I was earning really good money, $382 a week. Man, I was rich. And there was a huge line. It was just before Christmas. And you're not going to believe who I saw up in the front. Ernie Dingo. And I was like, oh my goodness, Ernie Dingo's there. I was excited. I got starstruck. And the lady accidentally gave him my lay-by and he took off and I said, hey, that dingo's got my lay-by. But now you know, muck around and now what goes on here stays here. Don't tell him, please. Don't tell him. Like, don't go and start trouble, okay? Don't try and start it, because I'll fight any dingo. Nah, I'm okay, just joking, yeah? I'll just muck around. Okay, so here we go. So obviously, me and Pat, my good friend, Sean and Patty, we're like 2 little Irish children. And we're going to play a clip from the most famous cartoon beside The Simpsons. Last week, they emailed me and they said, last night or last week, we had 230 million views or something. People watch it. I was like, these cat-loving people again. You know, delete. So here we go. We're going to play a small snippet. I play Maynard, Irish wolfhound. Hey, what's going on?
Hi, Maynard.
Hey, kids.
Maynard, you've got to hide us.
Is it the aliens?
No, it's chilly.
Granddad won't do what Mum tells him to.
Oh, why don't you just do what you're told?
Oh, don't you start. Just hide us.
Okay, come on, quickly. Come in the back.
Have you got Granddad's canoe, Maynard?
Here I come.
Bingo, come on.
Hey, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it, yeah? Thank you very much for that, Pat. Give him a good applause. Beautiful. All right. We're getting to the pointy end now. This is the part that Pat incorporated into the show. Because I know a lot of you guys are thinking, what are you wearing under that Sheen outfit? And I know you guys are thinking that. All right, here we go. All right. 2032, imagine this. Thank you, Pat. That was good. Oh, my goodness. Oh, Reagan. Don't you love her? #1 breakdancer in the world. 0 points. #1 breakdancer. Which I enjoy because, I do comedy. I love it, yeah? I go, man, whatever. People go, no, it's not right. I go, who cares? Just relax. Never hurt no one. I was staying in a motel in a place called Wagga Wagga. Some of you guys are thinking, man, you must really know Australia because of your background. No, it's because of Google Maps. I was in a place called Wagga Wagga. And it reminded me of this whole story where the Australian people took a bit of a joke. You know how we go, larrikinism, yeah? Australian larrikinism with a lady who was from Canada. And she asked the whole staff, she goes, where's Whoop Whoop? And they all laughed. They go, Sharon. They go, it's out there. Because she thought in her head, which made sense to someone like me. Because I think she also was borderline genius. Because she said, Whoop Whoop. And I said, Whoop Whoop is not a place. It's like out there somewhere, you know? Like if X-Files was Australian, be Whoop Whoop. Scully and Mulder be like, it's out there. Whoop Whoop. No, she said this. She said, well, you got Wagga Wagga. I said, Sharon, where you going with this? She said, there's Woy Woy. So Whoop Whoop would make sense. I said, Sharon, did we just fall in love? So we're dating. We're getting married. We want everyone to come. The address will be Whoop Whoop. All right. So I better finish up. Better be serious, yeah? One thing I want to share with you, a beautiful story. It's a really beautiful story, yeah? And I really like the story because I want you to, fun, games, all that. But at the end of it, when we strip all away, everything, basically, what are we left with? This magic, beautiful place that we call Australia or Queensland. It's the most great. Every time I lived in Sydney, I'd drive here, get to that border. Whoo, my shoulders would drop down. This is the most relaxed, most beautiful place of all time. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I say to Sharon, I say, do you want to drink tea at the Narada Tea Farm in the Tablelands? She goes, how could I say no? And we're up there drinking tea on a tea farm in the Tablelands. And looking at all this tea farm. So I don't know if anyone's got a connection with that Narada tea farm. Tell them to open it up again. So me and Sharon can make a date. Because it's the most greatest thing of all time. You live in Sydney. It's hustle, 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 hustle. When you go there and you're like, man, how good is this? The other day I said to my missus, Sharon, I said, let's have breakfast. She goes, it's 4:30 in the morning. I said, no, let's have breakfast at Rusty's Markets in Cairns. She goes, oh my God. She's up there like one eye's open like that, grabbing clothes, and I go, we'll go there. And after that, we'll swim at Lake Eacham. And we'll get on a boat cruise around Lake Barine. And people don't know, I know everywhere. I travel everywhere, and I love this country. It's the most beautiful place of all time. You cannot beat Queensland. The other day, I was in a place called Paralympic, 10 hours west of Cairns, in the middle of nowhere, on the Western Cape York Peninsula. I was right out there, and we drove off, me and Sharon. You guys are thinking, no wonder you were sharing Karen people, yeah. So we're driving along. As we leave Paralympic, we say bye to everyone. And we're driving out, and guess what crosses us? And it'll only happen in the greatest state of all time, Queensland. A baby crocodile hopped in front of our car. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I started singing that song, Baby Crocodile, do, Baby Crocodile. She's just thinking, what? That ain't even a song. We have the oldest song and dance in the entire world, and people have no idea what it is. If anyone can guess what animal it is, you can win. You can actually have this $17 suit. If you know what the oldest animal is in the world, and I'll tell you actually, the oldest animal in the world, out of every type of animal, dinosaurs, whatever you want to say, is a dragonfly. And the dragonfly appeared from a waterfall just north of Cardwell. Just before you hit Tully, there's a sign that says Murray Falls. That'd be like me falling down the stairs. You'd be like, Murray Falls, all right. We have a waterfall called Murray Falls. Gayuru in its proper language. The waterfall cascades down. It's home to the Girme people, one of the most beautiful mob going, my dad's people. Very relaxed, calm, cool kind of people, yeah? Very nice. But anyway, out on the side of there appeared a dragonfly. For those who don't know, dragonfly is over 350 million years old. I've seen a lot of people sing, dance, perform all around the world. Because, you know, obviously you travel the world, you work with the embassies and so on. And I've never seen anyone do this dance. And I was like, oh my goodness, we come from the oldest dance. And that's the beauty and the magic that we have. We unlock that key to find what we already have, you know. And that creates that partnership, you know. And you kind of go, man, we bring people to that Murray Falls. And I invite everyone there because at the end of the day, my culture is your culture. It's our culture. So the dragonfly appeared out of there and shook itself. But the problem with the dragonfly, he's buzzing. He heard everyone's ears, heard all their ears like this, and they're blocking it, and they don't like this buzzing sound this dragonfly is making. So they made the waterfall spray water all over him, and they call it jabolgo in our language, the spray, the mist. And the dragonfly shaking himself like this, but he's getting all soaking wet, and he flew about 400 meters. Just think of Kathy Freeman's run. And he flew down the river, and he crashed into the grass, where there's all guinea grass. And when he crashed into the ground there, they turned him into a rock from making that buzzing sound. And this song here, in our language, we say, and Aboriginal song don't have much words. There's not much words. In our song, we only have 5 words. There might be a couple of more, might be less. But there's only always a couple of words. And in that song, the Dragonfly song, it has, Karma's not my boyfriend. Oh, sorry, that was Taylor Swift. Sorry about that, yeah? I'm a bit of a Swiftie. Sorry about that. It's Binda, Jobolgo, Baji. Baji means fall down when he drops. Yirinjala, the dragonfly, and Galbringo. That's what I mean. You flying along. And those 5 words is singing about the oldest bird or insect or animal or dance, whatever you want to call it, in the entire world. And that's what we have here. You know, we unearthed that. And some of you guys are probably looking at me thinking, what is he wearing under that ray gun outfit? I want everyone to turn their attention to my Irish brother, Pat. And I want everyone to say, Patty, hit it. Everybody, clap your hands.
Shawnee Choolburra, everybody. Maynard, the man of many talents. Thanks so much, Shawnee. We had to get a ray gun somewhere in Tourism Week, didn't we? Surely. Thank you so much. One of the great storytellers, and I think that yesterday we had DestinationIQ, Indigenous Queensland, and it was a wonderful day where we had lots of great First Nations businesses, industry, government talking about the direction, and it was a great. I get to report back to you on a fantastic day that we had. But I will start by saying that, with a new government talking about a fresh start to Queensland, it's a good way to start by looking at our oldest living cultures in the world and what they bring to us as a state, in terms of we've got these amazing natural assets from wet tropics to Great Barrier Reef, and the reason that they're in such good nick is because for 65,000 years First Nations people being custodians with that for those areas, and we continue that today jointly with national parks. And so we're very excited out of yesterday about the ecotourism opportunities moving forward with First Nations people and our partners, whether it's government or industry, in terms of national parks and protected areas and ecotourism. We talked about understanding the 20-year plan that's coming, and that First Nations people are really keen to co-design and co-develop that. It could be the first one in our state's history where we've had a 20-year plan for tourism co-developed with First Nations people. We had amazing, talented exporting opportunity for First Nations businesses talk about their export and growth and how we can work towards taking our First Nations in the agricultural sector, our fashions and textiles, our artworks out across the globe. We had great partnerships between First Nations people and local governments, Noosa Council. The Mount Isa Rodeo won a Reconciliation Award this year for its integration with First Nations rodeo. So there's been these fantastic growth. We've got our challenges, but there was, in terms of keeping the fire burning, there's a great optimism in terms of how we want to progress First Nations tourism, and we want to keep the momentum that's come since the Year of Indigenous Tourism and keep that moving with us as a sector and industry, and looking at, and a key to that is partnerships. So I will play a short video of yesterday and just give you a quick snapshot, and then I'll round off from there. So Paddy, can we all say, Paddy, hit it?
We are Paralympic people from far north Queensland.
We are here to do the acknowledgement of country, and it is cultural protocol.
It's in
Paddy, hit it.
Thank you for having us and enjoy your day.
We all are here because we want to put and continue to put Queensland on the map, and we know the research shows that our Indigenous tourism experiences are what will set us apart from other areas, other countries and other regions around the world, and it will be a key priority in our 20-year tourism plan. So the research is showing, and Tourism Australia just recently released, that nationally there were 3 million trips that included First Nations activities last year. This is the highest number of annual trips on record incorporating our First Nations activities. It's a key economic driver, and we all know that. We're in the industry. The sector supported over $500 million in visitor expenditure, and it employs over 2,500 people. So the future is certainly bright, and I know we've got a number of peak bodies here that live and breathe this, but as the government, we're certainly working with you as well, and we need to incorporate this very strongly throughout our 20-year tourism plan. This roadmap is all about creating more events, jobs and business opportunities, and 25 programs are within this for our First Nations tourism experiences across Queensland.
If I take New Zealand, been there a whole bunch of times, love that country. If I think about New Zealand, I asked you to start thinking about now, what comes to mind when you think about New Zealand, right? You think of that as a country, as a culture. Instantly, I can read your mind, you're gonna say stuff like the Māoris, the haka. Someone always says sheep, but you should stop saying that. So the haka, the All Blacks, the Māoris, the tattoos, right, the country. Is that about right? So if we're overseas and someone asks us about Australian country, what is it about Australia? What do we like? Can anyone give me anything that what we're about as a country? Pies, beaches, animals, and that's my point. Because what's missing from the way we view Australia? 65,000 years of people. That's what this platform is creating for me. is because one day I want non-Aboriginal people, particularly, yep, we're about sports, we're about beaches, we're about pies, all that stuff, that all makes sense. But where are we in that narrative? And I think that's the impact that a lot of our businesses can have, not just domestic. 5,000 years of heritage. When you get off a plane in Auckland, you're immersed in Māori culture. What are we immersed in here in Australia? How do we have an impact in places that are really significant, like the airport or the CBD? How do we get our languages around in the city?
These domestic visitor trips. Obviously we know what that big hole in the middle there is for, where data wasn't collected, but you can see that numbers are back well above those pre-pandemic levels. And for us that, we have such a big domestic market, I think those domestic numbers are really encouraging. Of course, Queensland being the best, of course, at DIQ, with the second highest proportion of trips that contain a First Nations activity. For us up here.
All tourism operates on country and tourism must respect country. So one of the catchphrases for us in Far North Queensland is come and visit. First day, reef. Second day, the rainforest. The third day, have an Aboriginal experience. Well, that's changing. People are first and foremost putting a First Nations tourism experience within their itinerary. So it's not considered to be so much of a standalone. It's being infused within the mainstream. And that's the key to capturing that volume and rotation of people.
You're not just coming to take your little pretty picture. The visitor experience now is to actually put them in the bush. Show them things that they would not necessarily have seen or thought about or looked at. They would have walked past it for 25 years coming to the island, and then they come on a tour with me and go, oh, you can eat that. Oh, you can do that. Oh, this happened here. So it's about making people interested in the land, the people, and the environment that they're in. And it's about that connection, a connection with you telling stories, connection with you and the land, connection with them and the land.
What we're seeing is that 53% of international tourists look at a food or a cuisine or that type of experience. 41% are cultural hikes, tours, and 40% is really around arts and crafts and cultural tourism. So we're seeing that sort of where people like. What we're seeing is people really want a First Nations guided tour. They like engaging and authentic small groups. So not necessarily to be in a group of 30 or 40 or 50 people. They like that small group setting. And really it's about storytelling and connection. That's what they want to experience. What is Brand Australia and what does that mean? And particularly if you look at the Olympic bid, First Nations underpinned that bid. We all knew when we were watching the announcement live, and I think Scott Morrison had an Aboriginal tie on, we knew it was important. If we look back in 2019, tourism was the fastest growing sector of the economy. Trish mentioned this morning that it's a critical period now as we lead up to the Olympics. We're forecasting tourism to be worth $220 billion. But I guess the biggest message is for First Nations businesses in particular is being export ready. Because if we do have this influx of visitors, how are we ready to support that? Because we all know when we've travelled, word of mouth is a big thing. So if somebody visits the ration shed, they're going to go away and go, oh, there was this fantastic experience that I went to. You must do it when you go to Australia.
That presence, the history, the ancient storytelling and the connection to those is really important as we head towards the growth in space tourism.
I can see one potential future for Queensland where you have a centre of sorts, perhaps like the cultural centre that was referenced up here before, where you learn about the stories of different groups within Queensland of their astronomy, and perhaps you have a day or two in Brisbane where you experience the subtropical city, but then you go off to the regional areas and you're now in the places where those stories had originated from. And I think that would be quite a powerful tourism experience, both domestically for our own sense of identity and the story that we tell non-Indigenous Australia, as well as internationally for the identity that we present to the world. That's what I would love to see.
And I think it's very important for everyone to understand the connections between the skies, land and people.
Thank you. And we also had some awards. We had the annual Pip and Charles Woodward Award, which was presented to Hayley Brown from Vacate for her contribution to the First Nations sector. And as we also had Tia as our Young Achiever Award as well. But you heard them there, we were looking at new sectors, about emerging sectors within Queensland about space and where First Nations, in terms of space tourism, is coming. But how do we intersect? And we'd love to see our oldest living culture meeting the final frontier, seeing rockets wrapped with artworks like Queensland Rail's doing with their trains at the moment. So, and hearing from our regions who have developed their regional tourism plans. So, one of the key things we presented on was the department has been looking at the Queensland Government's developing a First Nations roadmap, and that was presented what we're heading towards next year. One of the key things is the revision of the Queensland First Nations Tourism Plan. So a lot of yesterday was working towards a plenary session to start off and kickstart what this will do. And what we're actually looking at is how does this process in the next year of looking at the revision of this plan, and they're looking at also 10 regional tourism, First Nations tourism action plans, how that then feeds into the 20-year plan that's being developed. So how do we work with government and assist government to have this great, massive opportunity of First Nations tourism underpinning and integrated within our growing model and where we want to head for the next 20 years. The First Nations Roadmap is an initiative between the Queensland Government and the National Indigenous Australians Agency at the federal government, $6 million. There's a whole list of projects and there's a number of organisations that are delivering that, from the Department of Tourism, Tourism Events Queensland, QTIC, regional tourism organisations, First Nations bodies like ITOC and QFNTC. So we're all collaboratively driving out a roadmap which will include things like DestinationIQ, regional events, mentoring, bursaries to attend events like the ATE, native goods projects, visitor economy partnerships with the federal and continuing the roadmap, 10 action plans across Queensland, and of course redoing the Queensland Tourism Plan, which was done when we didn't even have an Olympic Games announcement. So it's an exciting time for us, and we thank everybody who contributed. We thank Auntie Rhonda Appo and the QTIC staff that helped deliver it, but everyone was contributing yesterday, and First Nations businesses' voices were being heard, and we were hearing, and it was being First Nations-led, supported by industry and government, and I think that's really exciting for us, and I'm so optimistic and excited about where we're heading for 2032 and beyond. Thank you very much.